once the equity bubble pops, we take a little shit down, we recover, we're going to go into a crypto super cycle. Crypto super cycle, like biggest whole thing ever, up and to the right, shoo, like that. Miguel elbows everywhere. I mean, like crypto can't keep going up there. Bah, bitch! Like, oh, bitch, get the fuck out of my face and shit. Like, oh,
even Ripple appreciates and the market still goes up.
Right. So it's gonna be this whole thing where, like, eventually, once equities and cryptocurrencies decouple at that point, then crypto's gonna walk around like, "Hey, you guys, inflation's going crazy. I don't give a fuck. The dollar's no longer the reserve currency of the planet. I don't give a fuck." That's what's gonna happen at some point. It's just gonna be this giant thing, this giant part of the market where, like, it's gonna go up for about a decade, and then at some point, it's going to collapse and crash and not disappear, go down, probably go into a 3-year bear market, a little bit longer than usual, then start correcting. And then by the mid-2030s, we'll be back up to the green and stuff. He's basically, like, if you look at who really controls a lot of the cryptocurrency market in terms of, like, who's getting in, it's basically millennials and some of the youngest. So it's the youngest part of the Xers, the millennial generation, and the oldest part of the Zoomers, which are, like, just turning 18 and 19 years old right now. So these are the people who are going to end up owning all the cryptocurrencies. So it's basically kind of focused on the millennials. So by 2035, the most millennials are at 45 years old, the middle part of it. At 45 years old is usually, depending on the person, it's usually on average the peak earning years, 45 to 55. So cryptocurrencies from 2035 to 2045 are basically going to be earning more money. So you're going to see cryptocurrencies go up and to the right for another decade. So it's just demographics around the world. So we're gonna hit a roaring 20s from the whole 20s.
Dude, this decade is going to be great for crypto. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And then just make sure that the guys listening, right, mark your calendars, right? Just make sure to put in a reminder for 2035 and 45.
So it's going to be this whole thing. So it's going to be a pretty much a whole decade, right? Of course, there's going to be crashes. There's probably 3 crashes in this decade for
major
currencies. Maybe major ones, but boom, but recovery, right? It's if you look at the 1920s. If you look at the 1920s, look back on when there's crashes. There's roughly one every 3 years. That's what it is. Boom, 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 boom. And then, of course, 1929, which everyone goes crazy about. Probably more than likely going to repeat. But it might go into 31. That's the hard part. I'm still trying to graft that part out of it yet.
Yeah, the United States government is going to keep trying to fend that off with a stick as long as it can.
Right. So once that crashes, let's just say it crashes in 31, 2031. Boom, takes a dip. No! Bear market for 3 years. We start going back up 2035. Just up and to the right until the 50s. So basically we're just repeating history again. It's just different. Yeah. Same thing, more technology, more cooler. Obviously us much cooler people. Like, you want me and Charlie in charge because, like, we're dope. Like, we're really cool people. Like, legitimately, like, do you want boomers? Nah. Charlie Miguel? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
There you go. There you go.
Like President of the United States, and then, like, Lord Emperor of space. You know what I mean? Like, you Time Lords. Like, these guys, you want these guys in charge, right? Like, if I'm in charge of the right or the left, like Charlie's, which it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, control of the West, the control of Asia. You know what I mean, Charlie?
Hey, man, you got to control it all.
Charlie's like, I will control everything with an iron fist.
There's a comment in the chat. I was like, what it reminded me of when you were doing, like, up to the right, up to the left. I'm like, you're getting a little close to something else in the 1930s and 40s. I mean, if we're repeating history, I mean, hopefully we don't repeat that part. There's bound to, if stuff like that happens in all seriousness, you're going to get conflicts, right?
Right. And honestly, we actually skipped the world because the world is safer. We have skipped one of the world wars, but at some point there is going to be some sort of a world war at some point. But
conflict. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like war. It can be subversive. It can be digital. I mean, it'd be interesting to see try to see countries, try to hack each other's electrical grids and shit like that. Especially once you have automated driving cars and stuff, and trying to hack into the GPS system and all sorts of different stuff would be,
Right. we're actually what we could be going on with it. It's been a secret war of the currency wars, which is actually what's been going on. So it's
that's
totally
maybe why the last year I did an episode called Digital Currency Wars once a month.
Just maybe. I don't know.
No, but I really like this talk. Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Right?
That's what I was referring to.
But okay, so just because I want this in the ether right here, into the internet and the interwebs, right? So obviously 35 would probably go back up. The next 15 years, just nothing but up to the right, basically. We're probably going to repeat the 1950s. It's going to be that glorious time where everyone's be like, the 50s were so cool. The 2050s were amazing. It's obviously it's because like all of us, like me included, are going to, around 1950. I'm probably going to be like 55 years old at that point. 55 to the youngest part to about 70 for millennials. So that's the space. So that's when we're peak earning dollars. We're going to be basically the boomers in the Senate and the House of Representatives around the planet. All our entire generation, full in control. Boomers are just dead, gone. Dead. Gone.
That's a little harsh. That's a little harsh, but yeah. Like the truth.
Just like they're done, they're out of here, right? And the wealth transfer complete. We're going to build a bunch of institutions around the world, make the world a better place, and then the next 3 generations are going to fuck it up, and then here comes the next millennial generation again, going to do it all over again, and it's just we're just on this fucking loop. But
so you're telling me Aaron Clary ranting and raving at all the millennials is for nothing?
Kind of. I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, it's there is literally like these clay tablets from Mesopotamia of the older generation shitting on the new generation. Literally, like, I don't know about these guys. These guys aren't working hard enough in the fields. Like, what are we talking? Like, this has been every generation shits on the next generation, always.
Yeah.
No matter
every new generation shits on the one before it as well.
Yeah, the reason for that is because let's just say as a game, right? If we're all playing these games, essentially monopolizing stuff, right? We're trying to monopolize the game. What ends up happening is, like, let's just say we're all in radio, and there's already these really famous radio guys. It's really hard to break through. So what do they do? People create podcasts, another way to break through. So, or like, oh, I can't get on TV, so they create YouTube, and then become a YouTube star. It's this whole thing where, like, okay, I can't beat these guys. Like, the reason, like, most rappers like went from super lyrical to doing other stuff is because, like, fuck, I can't beat the super lyrical shit. It's already cemented. It's like there'll be one of us that make it through, maybe super lyrical. So I'll make my own lane. So that's what every generation does. Okay, Charlie and them are good at this. I'm gonna go do this because that makes me unique and different.
I mean, look at crypto, right?
Yeah, and it's that's
niche.
Yeah, it's a niche. It's niches and stuff, and we're at some point, I think the cryptocurrency stuff and the smart contracts are going to run everything in the background. Because I think the institutions and the things and the DAOs and the things we're doing now that's basically what we're creating right now, or
from scratch. It's great. Like, the more you can kind of get up to speed with where crypto is at in its evolution process, like, the better you're going to be, because you just watch the whole thing get created, like the whole infrastructure, train tracks get laid out right in front of you. And then it just becomes, that's when, you really understand crypto, because it's so clear, right? But if you try to come to this late and it's already a full-fledged financial system, all the lingo is like, what the hell are these guys talking about, right? Then, it's going to be the same as trying to come to the current financial system from like zero. It seems really complicated because it's been built out over a long period of time.
So, yeah, exactly. So what's probably going to happen, because, like, I see problems with DAOs even now, right? But they're going to be smoothed over because literally the systems are better than the systems we have now. At some point later on, and I've been calling this myself out for a while too, is okay. I'll start first with the DAOs for a second, just so we can, so I can explain the whole thing. So with DAOs, right? It's basically the same thing where, like, with everyone has a vote, right? But it's your money that votes. So what happens is when a bunch of families, let's just say, like, all right, let's just say me and Charlie own a bunch of this coin, and we all own 10% of the supply, both of us, of this DAO token. And then and I don't sell it, neither does Charlie. And then we pass on these tokens to our family. And what ends up happening is that our family ends up having, say, a really powerful amount of voting power on say into stuff. So what ends up happening is that other people in other ecosystems start coming to Charlie and my family going, hey, Miguel, Charlie, hey, would you guys help us vote this way? You guys are 20% of the votes. And then our families would be able to get paid money on the down lows for these for votes in the system to move things in that way. And that's what will happen. And
it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting and stuff. So obviously, like when me and Charlie are alive, right, we have our morals in terms of like what we saw and what was the original. Like, let's just say we met up with Polkadot. We had a bunch of Polkadot for some reason, and we had a lot of voting power. And not saying it's a DAO or a voting token, but just saying like we owned a bunch of Polkadot as an example. And we knew Gavin, and we talked to Gavin for a while, and we believed we were drinking the Kool-Aid from Gavin. And
yeah, nice mix.
Right. While we were alive, we were keeping crypto's supposed to be decentralized. No one's supposed to control it. It's supposed to be free money for the world. Everyone can use it. And me and Charlie keep pushing that narrative even after Gavin dies and we're old and stuff. And eventually we're like, we give our coins to our grandkids and our great grandkids. Eventually they don't have the same morals or the same thing because they never met Gavin. And they're like, the world's always.
Or they might not they just wouldn't care and they'll just be like, let's get rid of some of these coins,
Yeah, let's get rid of these safeguards. Who cares? The world's safe already. Let's centralize this stuff. And that's what happens. Is over time, it's like they don't have the same experiences, and I can't even blame them for that either. But like, it's what'll happen over time, and
I ain't there. Oh god,
I'm not even gonna go for that.
Oh, that's great. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah. So, and what I'm explaining is sort of the rationalization of what's going to happen. Yeah, man, this is what happens when I drink so much Red Bull. That's sort of what's going to happen. So, some people are like, "How can these systems happen?" Well, it's because like the strong, the believe, or we're drinking the same thing with the communist parties of China, or the original starting of the United States. It's like, we got it. We're in the line, and eventually we're towing the line. Or this way, whichever way we go, that's what happens because the world.
If you want to hear about a family that absolutely destroyed like generational wealth, like to the heart, like in a hardcore way, like read the story about the Vanderbilts. It's hilarious.